Why is money a dirty word? Like, why isn't it okay to talk about what you make?
It's called show biz, and it is great to be talented, work your craft, but it is meaningless in our business. Like, this is a business, and you need to understand the business as well as the craft.
Was there ever a point along the way where you thought, this is not going to happen and I should quit?
Absolutely.
Really?
So what is it that kept you going?
I would say, like, every time that's happened, I've prayed for a sign, and then I'll always get one.
Give me an idea of what a sign might be for you.
Okay, this is a really big one. I've never told anyone this. I was in my 20s, and I was starting to feel like I just don't look right for this industry. And I started to think about plastic surgery. And I was like, well, I can't do anything about my height, but maybe I should get a nose job. And maybe that's really what I should do, and that will change my career. And I started to really think about it, and I was like, okay, God, if I'm supposed to get a nose job, let me know. Like, I need a sign. I really need a sign. Tell me.
Before you go under the knife.
Yes, I need a sign. Like, should I do this or not? I need a sign. I need a sign. I auditioned for a beer commercial, and I was going in to play the waitress, and there was like the hero girl, and they in fact called her the hero girl.
They do all the time in commercials.
And the waitress, and I was going in for the waitress, and the director's like, "You're too pretty to be the waitress. You should play the hero girl." And long story short, I booked the commercial. I was the hero girl, and like the commercial the commercial got a lot of play because it was a Super Bowl beer commercial, blah blah blah, and it was like, oh, if I'm the pretty girl in a beer commercial, I guess I don't have to change my face. Like that, it was like pretty clear cut. So that was one of those moments. But I would say right before I got Orange, there was another, like, I would turn to my husband pretty much daily and be like, should I quit? Like, is it time?
Well, you're constantly looking for a new job, and you constantly have this pressure to be better than what you did before, which is also a really big pressure. And then there's like the ticking clock of age being a woman in entertainment, which is another thing. My last film, Backwards, which was my first venture into producing, writing, and starring in a film, did really well for a small indie, but it did not get into, it's a family-friendly PG film about women's rowing, and it didn't get into Sundance. I considered not doing another movie because I was like, it's so hard. I now have a son, I have a 2-year-old. This took 2.5 years of my life, 7 days a week, through every holiday, you know. Do I want to do it again? And then I said, okay, I'll try one more time. And then the next time it worked.
Equity was at Sundance.
Equity was the second one.
Massive acclaim.
Yeah.
Audiences
But I couldn't have made
world.
Equity without Backwards. That's the key.
But you can think of it like a party. We need to encourage people to show up to the party.
It's also becoming a TV series.
Yeah, so we optioned the rights to TriStar to develop our characters into a TV spinoff.
I love that it was all women, from start to finish, top to bottom. How did you come up with that?
I think Alicia and I both had a mandate when we started to work together to just hire a female director, a female writer, and as actresses ourselves, you know, we really wanted to have a film about 3 strong women.
I'm a huge fan of be the change you want to see, and I don't really like talking about things that I don't like. I like just changing it, and it was so empowering to say, we have the choice. We can do whatever we want. We're producing this. We can hire all women.
So Anna Gunn's character has this moment where she's presenting, and it's early on in the film, and she says, I like money. I like numbers.
I like money. I do. I like numbers.
And you look at right now what's happening in our world, and there's sort of this, I think as a female, there's kind of these 2 things that are going on. On the one hand, we talk about wanting women to make more money, we talk about wanting equality, but on the other hand, there's this feeling about wealth and money that it's a negative thing.
It's a taboo.
It's a taboo,
Yeah.
exactly.
Why is money a dirty word? Like, why isn't it okay to talk about what you make?
How have you both, in the course of your careers, dealt with that money conversation? You've had to go to bat for yourselves, I'm sure. Do you negotiate for your deals? Do you say, I deserve more?
Absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely do on a regular basis.
Do you say that to your agent, or do you say
I
that
do.
to...
I
okay.
don't. I never do it for myself.
Yeah.
But I have a whole team of reps, and and I've had different reps at different times, and some have been like, we should ask for double, and I was like, well, and the fear of what if they say no?
Exactly, because you're too expensive, and so they're going to go with someone who's cheaper.
Right.
But you can always ask. A funny story. I was the spokesperson for the New York Times Weekender commercial years ago, right when I came out of drama school, and at the time I didn't have a manager or an agent when I booked that job, and they wanted to renew it a year later, and so my husband called to pretend to be my manager to the New York Times.
Genius.
And he
I
got
love
me
that.
5 times the amount of money, and then all the actors in the commercial were calling him to represent him because nobody had
that great?
asked. They just were going to renew it at the same rate.
And the other thing I'll say is always go for the perks. If they say, if it's a low budget movie like we had.
Yeah, the private plane's fine.
Yeah, exactly. If it's a tiny movie and they don't have what else can you ask for?
Craft services,
that you can ask
vegan.
You can ask for back end. You can ask.
What does the
I'm
back
getting
end
a big.
mean?
So it means if the
deferment
movie does
right now.
well,
Yeah.
you have a piece of the profits. And
Okay.
actually, a lot more actors are doing that now because there aren't these multi-million-dollar paychecks.
What is involved in being both an actor and a producer on a film?
Well, that's a great question that not many people ask because not many people actually know what a film producer really does.
The word producer has so many different meanings to so many different people. And a lot of times it is part of a contract where I'll get a contract and I'll be like, we'll give you a producer credit and I'll do nothing.
So what actually went into the producing side for both of you?
Everything. It was just the two of us, so it was everything. From raising the money. I mean, raising the money to make a movie is ginormous. Casting every character,
Final cut?
every staff member, every human being we really hired. It's and then cutting it and all of the business of it. All of the paperwork of it.
It's not glamorous.
It is so not glamorous.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking like.
But that's how everything gets done. I mean, ultimately, there would be no film without that component of all of it. When I look at both of your backgrounds, I always love looking at people's backgrounds. You studied biopsych.
I was a biopsychologist. I wrote my college essays about how psychoneurobiology and acting were really the same thing.
Was that a fallback plan in your mind that you might be a doctor someday, or
Yeah, or a shrink.
or a shrink?
Yeah.
So is that humanly is that something that you would ever consider doing in the future?
I get asked a lot to life coach, because I love sitting down with people. It is like my hobby is to sit down with people and be like, what's your big dream? How can I help you?
You were at Vassar.
I was at Vassar, year studying in London, and then at the Eugene O'Neill in Connecticut. And I got back from that year and I found out I had a tumor. And I had a week of not knowing whether I had cancer. And the boy that I was with at the time didn't show up, and I ended that relationship. And I went, oh my God, I really want to be an actress. I don't want to be a doctor. I have to try it at least.
Right.
And I didn't have cancer.
Thank
But
God.
that was the biggest gift. I still have the tumor, and it was the biggest gift on the planet.
And you were theater from the start.
Yeah, from 5.
And your family, I read an article
Yeah.
where you said your family laughed initially. It was cute when you were a kid, and
Yeah.
then they freaked out when you were 15, 18 years old.
They freaked out, and I was a theater major in college, and then they wanted me to have a stable career. And one thing I think Leisha and I can both say is that acting is not stable.
You created, I don't know if I would want to call it a backup plan, but I think that you created many options for yourselves
I
in
think,
life.
one thing I do mentor a lot, which is something that's, a theme of our movie. And when I'm mentoring, I talk a lot about, it's called show biz. And it is great to be talented, work your craft, but it is meaningless in our business. Like, this is a business, and you need to understand the business as well as the craft.
What's the toughest business lesson you've had to learn along the way?
You have to take daily action as a businesswoman. You can't just go to acting class. Like, you really, for me, I had to market myself.
You're a
I had
commodity.
to learn marketing. I had to really learn how to be my own PR person and my own agent, my own manager before I had a team.
How did you get your first big break?
I played Olivia in Twelfth Night, and I got my equity card, and I got my husband. So that was like
That's a good one.
the best break ever. And then Sideways was a really big one. That, like, sort of, you know, being in an Oscar-winning movie and winning the SAG award for that, and that was, and then, you know, and then Orange, like, it's like each step of a career. So then Orange was like a whole other level of being stopped on the street daily, and, you know, that whole thing.
I stepped in gum, not 2 feet into the building. Where are the prisoners getting gum? Gum is contraband. Caputo, how the hell is it getting in, chewed, dropped, and stuck to the bottom of my very expensive shoe?
So I got a scholarship to go to drama school in London for graduate work. So I studied Shakespeare, which is not so practical in the money-making aspect of life, but really fun. And then I came back to New York and lived on my sister's couch and bartended. And my big break was a lot of commercials. I got a lot of commercials and a lot of indie film. I think what's an interesting point, though, that both of us experienced is, you said big break. It doesn't happen overnight. And so many people are like, I should have gotten that job, and if only I'd gotten that one part, my life would have been made. And I think for each of us, it's stepping
like,
stones.
yes, it's stepping
and
stones,
each one hopefully brings you more success.
What's the most difficult thing you've had to learn?
That failure happens to everyone, and that it's a great lesson and the only way to success. And I don't mean small failure. I mean fall on your face, big failure.
It's my biggest lesson in any business. There are no rules. You know, like that, there really are no rules except the crazy you write in your own head. I think that's the biggest business advice I could, you know, learn your area, learn the rules, and then break them.